The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello, and welcome to another live episode of Wrestling with Johners. We returned from a bit of a hiatus last week with episode 365, and that was none other than the Legion King, Chris Aries, came on to talk about United Wrestling and the reasons behind the name change. The recent name change is so much more, so please go and check that out over on YouTube or whatever audio platform you are watching or listening to us on. But today, it's all about my guest on the right-hand side of the screen now. I'm going to bring up some pictures. Bit of a belt collector in 2024, looking very, very impressive with all the gold. And this one here, we'll talk about all the gold and all the championships and all the companies that she's picked up gold in 2024. And, of course, the Japan excursion. But LA Taylor, how are you doing, my friend? And can you believe it's been 2 years and 3 months since you were last on the show?
No. How are we both still here?
Crazy. I know. It's mad, isn't it? But of course, we are live. We're live across Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching us live at home, thank you very much. And get in touch with the show. We've got quite a few questions that have dropped in already from our live audience. So can't wait to read that out. Absolutely. Yeah, you're a popular guest. I knew you would be. Yeah, if you want to send in a question for LA Taylor, any comments, any recent memories or matches you've seen of LA Taylor's that you've really enjoyed, or just general questions in general, then get in touch. But we are going to be live for the next hour and 15. What I do want to do before we take a deep dive with LA Taylor on the last 2.25 years is bring up my next guest, which would be not next week, but the week after. And it's going to be none other than Aluna. Aluna's coming back onto the show. Nearly 2 years since Aluna was last on the show. Wednesday, the 16th of October. Wrestling with Johners won't be here next week because I'm hosting the live TNT Barbed Wire show with Mike Mad Dog Angus. So you will see me next week hosting for TNT Extreme Wrestling. But the following Wednesday, Aluna will be my guest. So if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow, and join us, not just for this one, but for Aluna. But as I said, 2.25 years since you were last on the show. And do you realize that the last time you were on the show, you hadn't made your first foray out of the UK yet? You'd only just become the Southwest Wrestling Warriors champion. You hadn't wrestled or made your debut for Progress yet, or some of the other fantastic companies that we will be speaking about during the course of this interview. So we're taking you back in the Wayback Machine there. A lot's happened in the last 2.25 years, LA.
I know. You've kind of got me gobsmacked. First, you mentioned loads of lovely people, and I was like, this guy only hangs out with people who I really like.
Yeah,
and then I felt really jealous because you just surrounded by good people. But that's great. And then you started bringing back the past, the recent past. Though it's been, what a whirlwind.
Yeah,
it's mad when you put it like that. I remember that point in time so well. It's
crazy.
Time.
A lot's happened. And I'm going to bring up this picture one more time because I don't know if I've mentioned the various championships. Now, this photo was taken a few months ago, but you still hold all of these with the exception of the Future Proof Championship over in your right hand. And of course, you cashed that in. So that went to Chris Aries, who we spoke to last week. But do you want to talk us through some of the gold that's around your waist in your left hand and over your shoulders there, LA?
Yes. So we've got, I think the one I've held for the longest is the SovPro Women's Championship, because we're over a year there. We're entering what we like to call in SovPro the Age of Taylor. The collective, which is my faction in SovPro, I say my faction, the faction I'm in, sorry, Bullet, is very, very dominant over there at SovPro. And you can tell from my face every time I'm there, I'm just having the best time, maybe causing a bit of mischief, but hey, what are you going to do? United. Oh, there I am in
There you are.
SovPro.
Looking like you mean business there, Ellie.
I mean, it's all in the face, isn't it? It's a long drive. I love Manchester and I love causing trouble there, but the drive is usually etched into the face.
It's like someone's taken your last Rolo in that picture, and you're severely pissed off with whoever it was.
Oh yeah, yeah. My siblings know that face very well. Then we have a very, very prominent championship, which I infamously gained recently, the United Championship. Very, very proud champion at United. I have worked. It'd been a bit of a break, a bit of sabbatical. I hadn't been to United for a while. And unfortunately, some people who were never there to begin with, who might have started calling themselves pillars or something important, who weren't there to begin with, had kind of started to run amok. And I thought I'd come back and just remind them who I am.
That's it.
And
Upset the apple cart, I think, is what they call it. So you shook things up a little bit and won the future-proof and the United title all in one night. But we'll talk about all of that, and then some tag team gold as well.
Yes, anyone who knows anything about me and wrestling will know that I'm never far from my partner in crime and sometimes justice and absolute bestest wrestling friend on the entire planet, Sky Smithson, and we hold both of these championships together. And it was incredible. Firstly, I adore and have adored Resurgence from afar for a long time. So to get one, asked to wrestle there, two, with one of my best friends, three, involving Rain Leverkusen, who is fantastic, and then to win gold, and then to wrestle the people we've wrestled there. You know, we got to wrestle the Moneywood Blondes, Act 2, Lycos Jib. Hey, incredible opponents, incredible moments, incredible experiences. And those shows are so much fun. So yeah, very proud to hold those. They've been hard defended. So there were some hard defenses there, especially with the Lycos boys. My goodness, I slept well after that. But yeah, and then we have the RCW Spain Championships, international championships.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. I think that was I'm not sure about Sky, but certainly the first time I've held any championship abroad, and to be given that vote of confidence, because these championships were brought out of retirement almost. They had been vacated for some time, and so they were brought back into action, and we've held them since they were. So it's been incredible, and we've had opponents from around the world. You know, we had Megan Bain, Stardom and US fame, and her good pal. And I'm dreadful with names, but there are photos, and I'll post them, and it'll be great. But that was an incredible match. I had such a wonderful time right there in the heart of Barcelona, and we're very thankful to RCW Spain for their continued faith in us and for that opportunity to defend them.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Let me flash up this picture one more time. And when you look at that, when you look at the gold and the accolades, the accomplishments, the championships that you hold, and of course the tag team gold that you hold with Sky, and we've got a little section on Sky a bit later on. But on a personal level, what does that mean to you?
It's a vote of confidence. It's a big part of what a company or a promoter thinks of you, to put that confidence in you to be comfortable and happy to have you in that position in their company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the gravitas of it is never lost on me. Just happy to be there.
Yeah,
happy to be there. I'll continue to work to be worthy of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And a few people that have reached out. We will try and get to all of these, but we've got Sam watching us live via YouTube. Thank you, Sam. Hi, Johners. Hey, Sam. Great to see
Hey,
you at
Sam.
Progress the other week. But great to have you on board. Thank you so much. And let's have a look. We won't be taking a deep dive into LA's early career and what got LA into wrestling. Go and check out whatever episode it was from June of 2022 to have the full backstory.
That was a deep dive.
It really was. But James is watching us live on YouTube. LA is one of his favorite wrestlers. She's my forever SovPro Women's champion. There you go. What do you think about that? Thank you, James.
First ever and still going, pal.
That's it. And we will touch on SovPro, but you're the first ever champion, women's champion in SovPro, on their second ever show. But we will take a deep dive, something else you're very, very proud of. But let me ask you, so we've mentioned about the accolades, the championships, the gold. I would probably go so far as to say that you're probably having the most amount of fun that you've had in your wrestling career right now in 2024.
Yes, and it's a conscious decision to do so, which seems a bit silly to say. It seems a bit obvious, doesn't it? But any super experienced, wonderful person I've met will always give the advice to me of, you can tell when you're having fun. And when I watch my matches back now, no matter what I may think of them, I think, oh, I'm having a ton of fun there. And, there've been some big opportunities, some high pressure situations, and some massive votes of confidence from some companies that I have followed for a long time, or that I greatly respect. And I've managed to reach a point where I accept the gravitas, and then we move on, and then we get to the fun of the thing, and we just have at it. And I think that's really, really shows this year. And I'm glad you've noticed. So I feel like I'm having the most fun. I've always been a very sort of hard work and a bit of a taskmaster, but I have tried to make sure that I enjoy what comes from that. So I'm glad you've noticed.
Well, let me ask you, because I've worked with you many, many times backstage for various companies, and there was a time where, although you still had a smile on your face and you were going out there and having wonderful matches, there was time when you maybe was hurting, and from the grind, and maybe not enjoying wrestling as much in the past. What has been that mindset change? What was that switch that's been flicked that maybe changed, I don't know, your routine or your schedule or just the way you think about the business?
I'll be honest, I think it's a lot of outside factors. So and also the way that I train. So for me, I have a wonderful personal trainer called Gethin, who sometimes wrestles as Kid Kimru. And I have been training at the Lion's Den now in Plymouth for, it must be a year and a half since it opened. And I think the community of wrestlers there, the outlook is so positive and so, in the best way, self-centered. So it's not about what is everybody else doing. It's mind your own business, enjoy it for you, improve for you versus you. That it's allowed me to have a much healthier outlook and to not get bogged down by this pressure and this perception that was perhaps unhealthy. That's a lot of it. That, and I think at one point, for about those 2 years, I had 4 jobs at one point. and I was wrestling. So, you know, things are a little easier. We've pushed through, we've put some hard work in, and I'm very fortunate to be in a much better position outside of wrestling so that my mindset within it is just so much healthier. But I would be nothing without, you know, Lion's Den, Gethin's coaching. And I also, I'm a big advocate for Sporting Wellness UK. They offer lots of tools for mindset and mental wellness for young, well, I say young, but athletes. They include pro wrestling in that, so athletes of any age. And also the lovely team at Progress Wrestling put me in touch with someone who I have a little phone call with every couple of weeks just to do some talking therapy to make sure that mindset is there and that healthy mindset is worked through and maintained. I'm a big advocate for that. I mean, you look at any other sport, at any other professional level, football, for example, you have sports therapists for the physical and the mental, right? So I really do believe that it has a major part to play in all professional sport, including wrestling, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you for that. But let's take a look at some of the highlights. And I think one of the highlights I want to touch on is your excursion of Japan. Now, I think you were out there for maybe a couple of weeks back in June. And I saw you at the Cheltenham Town Hall just, I think, a few days before you were about to fly out there.
Crumbs, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were out there maybe 2 weeks, LA?
Yeah, just over. Yeah, it went by in a flash. Of course, I would have loved to have stayed there longer.
I'm
But
sure there'll be more opportunities for sure,
so
especially with
grateful.
what a success you were out there. But how
It
did you
felt like
first?
I was there for so long, though. I did so much.
How did you first get the opportunity to go out there? Because I think predominantly you were out there with TJPW and
Yes,
kind of in and around Tokyo. So tell us a bit about getting that opportunity in the first place.
100%. So there is a bit of a working relationship between Pro Wrestling Eve and TJPW. So if the people over at TJPW, they're always keeping an eye on certain companies around the world. And Eve is one of them. And they saw me on Eve and they went, "Who's that?" And they contacted Eve, so down at Eve, and said, "Hey, who's this? We would like to book this person." And I got the message from Dan saying, "Hey, they want you." And that was that. They were like, "Are you available at for these dates?" And I was like, "I will be." And you know, I was so looked after and welcomed, and it was exactly the experience I'd ever dreamt that it would be.
Absolutely. And a few pictures I'm going to bring up here. Firstly, for when you first arrived in the country and you were warmly welcomed by some of the talent there over at
Oh, yes,
TJPW.
Suzume.
And I know that I briefly spoke to you at United Wrestling after you came back, and I spoke to you about kind of how did you find getting around, navigating yourself on public transport, the underground, and just finding your way from A to B. And I've spoken to wrestlers, tons of wrestlers that have been to Japan, and they always struggle on the underground. Obviously, you can't read the signage or the language,
No,
but
not at all.
you had no issues at all. You were thoroughly enjoying the experience from
It was really,
finding your way
you know
around
what?
and public transport. Tell us about it.
It was really quite easy. I will say, I was there at the same time as Vert Vixen, of Defy fame and wonderful pro wrestler, and there she is. So we were there at the same time, and she had previously been out there with Max the Impaler, and they had showed her the ropes, and so she was like, "Hey, I'll show you how this works." And as soon as I'd been given the basics, I was like, "Oh, I can just get around then." And so it was just then to have the confidence to go, "Fine, I'm going there." And it's actually simpler than it may first appear, but it's brilliant because once you work out the transport system in Tokyo, me and Sky were able to work out the transport system in Barcelona. Like, all of the good transport systems are quite easy to work out. I can't work out the London Underground, but there you go.
Who can? Who can? I
Not
can't.
you.
Certainly not. But
But
let's talk about some of your highlights while you're out there. And I think
yeah.
not long after landing, you had your debut. We'll talk about kind of the whole occasion of it, but it was now if my clicker will work, here we go.
Yeah,
It
there
was
it
for the
is.
International Princess Championship against Yuki.
Mm.
Now, firstly, and let's just bring up some more pictures. There you are on your entrance, and I believe this was for the championship match, sporting items of new gear as well there, and the streamers going off, the big Tron, and what a way, what a match, what an opponent to make your Japanese debut. And could you I bet you had to pinch yourself slightly when you found out that that was going to be your first match over in Japan.
Yeah, majorly. That's a moment that I've pictured in my head so many times. So many times that when I made my entrance, I knew exactly what the cameras were going to do and everything. So I moved perfectly in time to them because I hadn't like overly thought it out. But it turns out I've pictured it so many times that I knew exactly what I was going to do. It was incredible. And yeah, the entrance gear I'd wanted for ages, but I sort of said to myself, well, if I'm not wearing it in Kurikan, then where am I going to wear it? So I had the wonderful Smoking Smithy in Cornwall here. Him and his partner make wonderful, wonderful things. And they made me this absolute goodie. And it's wonderful because you have the Cornish national tartan on there with the sporran and the sort of strip of fabric, but they swap out, and I can have the hunting tartan as well. So we can change color schemes. It's all very versatile and lovely.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it. All of the symbolism and everything in it was wonderful how it came together. I gave them a couple of notes about, hey, I'd like this and this and this. And, I have the waves because I grew up about 100 yards from the beach. So yeah, they just took it in hand and knew exactly what they were doing and knew the spirit of the piece. So it was wonderful. And I mean, Cornwall played such a huge part in that entrance. I had music by the band Honey, which is Ellie Lucas and Sarah Tyrrell and Siege. They play the music that I come out to. So it was great. It just felt like I was at home.
And let's talk about your opponent there, Yuki Ari, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. But was there any differences that stood out to you facing somebody like Yuki Ari, obviously a well-renowned, renowned Joshi wrestler? Was there any differences between wrestling her as a talent compared to some of the UK talent that you would typically face over here on UK shores?
They have tough kicks and they have she was a fearless opponent. She came flying off of the top turnbuckle there with the biggest drop kick I've ever had. And I thought, okay, she's all in. They're just fantastic, wonderful, beautiful, giving, generous people. I haven't met a consistently throughout the entire roster nice, welcoming, hardworking, and generous bunch of people. Not that to that degree from top to bottom
Really?
ever
Wow.
before.
That's really awesome.
They are such wonderful people, and I'd be forever grateful to them for that experience because they enhanced it so much with their love and with their incredible welcome.
Yeah, and a couple of things that happened off the back of that debut match. You got a fair bit of press coverage for that championship match in a Japanese wrestling magazine, and you also met the legendary Aja Kong backstage after your match. So that must be pretty cool. Well, I mean, I'm guessing the magazine came out while you were out there, so you probably had a chance to see it. And then to meet Aja kind of on that same show after your match, after her match. So some pretty memorable highlights there.
Dream come true. I remember I didn't realize that Kurikan Hall is in the Tokyo Dome complex. So you're like, there's the Tokyo Dome. Oh, we're wrestling like right there. Oh, I didn't realize it was so close, and it's basically all the same mini village, if you will. And I was just blown away by the whole thing. And you walk in and you go in through the, you know, the back, the stage door and everything to go and get to your dressing room. It's like, oh, this is your dressing room. Walk in, and you're sharing a dressing room with Aja Kong, Bert Vixen, and Hikaru Shida. And it's sort of like, wow, you're a Joshi legend. You had the AEW Women's Championship. You're a really cool American indie wrestler. Okay, cool. I guess I'm in here then.
And how did they take to you? You know, 6 foot, blonde, the Demolition Woman. I mean, you probably towered over most of them, but I'm guessing you mentioned they were already very, very warm and welcoming.
Very, very
you know, what was the locker room like?
Oh, it's so funny. I got there and Suzume came and got me from the hotel and showed me how to get on the train to go to dojo. And I remember we were walking, and a few of the other girls were walking along the street to go to the dojo, and it was like hi, and then Yuki Arai was like, oh, you know, Taylor-san, and she went, whoa. And I was like, hi, yeah, that's my job, to be tall.
That's why you were there, because you stand out and you kick ass. You stand out, you kick ass.
So lovely about me being a lot taller.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up some pictures, and you had a couple of tag matches out there. I think this is possibly your last match, teaming with Vert Vixen alongside Miyu Yamashita and Maki Hito, who's got a lot of press over the last couple of weeks. But some photos here of you. You slamming one opponent onto another there. Something crazy going on. Your legendary spine buster. And there she's going up for the ride, of course.
That's Toga, and she is the real deal. Toga-san, big love for Toga-san. Look at her. Look. Yeah, she took that like a champ. She went flying. I'd wrestle Toga every day. I love Toga. She's amazing.
And that's Maki Ito. So some fun tag matches there to kind of round off your tour. But what are some of your other fond memories of being out there? And do you have any kind of takeaway kind of highlights or memories from that whole experience?
For me, before I ever decided I wanted to wrestle, before I ever dreamt of wrestling, Japan was somewhere that I had always wanted to go to. I told my mum when I was sort of 12 years old, Mum, I want to go to Japan. I need to go to Japan. I need to see it. I need to experience it. There's one place on this earth that I go to. I would love to go to Japan. And loads of my childhood friends knew this. And so even if they hadn't been following me for wrestling, just the fact that I was getting to go to Japan, I had friends calling, like my mum broke down in tears on the phone because she knew how much that meant. And then I had my wrestling friends who had a bit of an idea what that meant to me outside of wrestling, but absolutely lost it when they heard about Kurikan. And then when the pictures of the streamers came out, I had, I don't want to ruin his image, but Bullet was just like, I can't get enough of this. I want to see this photo from every angle. I'll never tire of seeing this. This is the best thing ever. And I was just like, oh, thanks, mate. So, and similarly from loads of other people, I know at the time I had to miss Charlie Morgan and Jetta's retirement, which I'd had firmly in the diary for a long time. And they were just the most supportive, sweet, loving people about that. And they were over the moon for me. And, you know, their support leading up to that was just, I'm just incredibly grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to continue with LA just in just a moment. But just a quick reminder, last week was my return episode of Wrestling with Johners. And of course, 365, we had the Legion King, Chris Aries, join me live on the show. We spoke about him being the future-proof champion, the name change, and so much more. And don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, I've got none other than Aluna rejoining me back onto the show. Nearly 2 years since Aluna. Aluna blew back then, but a lot has changed. And we'll talk about Aluna, the Southwest Wrestling Warriors champion, a title that LA knows quite well. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Southwest Wrestling a little bit later on. But get in touch with the show if you have any questions. And Aluna, I'm going to have to say goodbye. There we go, my darling. Speak to you in a couple of weeks' time. But we're back with LA. And if you've got any questions for LA Taylor, then please get in touch with the show. We've had a few. Let's have a quick look to see if there's any that can read out straight away. Darren, who's watching us live at home, huge fan of LA Taylor, one of the best in the country. We've got a few questions from Megan Harlan, who trains with Joel over at ASW South.
Get on, Megastorm.
Megan goes, there we go. Let's go, LA Taylor. We've got a few other questions from Megan that we plan to read out a little bit later on. But a certain James, I think he sent in a question earlier on. He's come back with another one asking LA. LA was amazing at WOS, the return. So let's talk a bit about
see in there. Lovely.
Let's talk a bit about that because we go from Japan to WOS, the return. And
yes.
Absolutely. And let me just get rid of James. Keep sending your questions in, James. Thank you so much. But I think it was a one-day set of tapings a couple of weeks back in mid-September. Yes. And I was hoping to kind of travel down there to see the tapings myself as a fan, but I think something else cropped up. But tell us a bit about getting involved with WOS, the return, because, of course, we know WOS is short for World of Sports. And it's kind of part of the legacy of British professional wrestling stemming from the 60s, 70s and 80s. The weekly ITV show that would air British wrestling. I think it was at 4:30 every Saturday afternoon. I remember watching it with my gran in the mid-80s because, yes, I am that old. But I've spoken to many legends on here about WOS, about World of Sport, including Marty Jones and Johnny Saint and many others, and it's been reprised in various roles over the years, including the 2018 series. But how did you get invited to be a part of WOS, the return, and of course the tapings that happened a couple of weeks ago, Ellie?
I had an incredibly cryptic message go into my junk folder that I almost missed. And I think that's, for some of us, it was a similar story. So I remember saying to friends, like, just check your junk folder, because I've just been nudged to check mine, and it was good that I did, and I had signed the very cryptic NDA by this point and was not allowed to tell people why they had to check their junk email. Even within my household, I was not allowed. I was like, check your emails. So yes, that was interesting. It was very cryptic at first, but I got some paperwork and I signed it, and I looked at a few of the sort of parent companies and holding names, and I was like, I think I know what this is. And I was right. So I was very pleased that I answered this slightly cryptic email that I might usually think was someone playing wind up.
Junk, spam.
Yeah, like, stop pestering me.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. So thank goodness I was feeling thorough that day.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yes.
And I'm going to bring up this picture one more time. And of course, this picture here, these are the four ladies that are involved in the tournament that took place over them two shows on Saturday the 14th to decide the WOS Women's Champion. But just in general,
what a roster.
But for those that saw the trailer that went out advertising for tickets to go and see this live, it's an absolutely stacked roster. You featured very heavily in that trailer, but the roster really did encapsulate the biggest, the best, and the brightest stars on the UK scene. And that women's roster, in particular, the 4 individuals that I brought up there, was absolutely loaded. But you probably couldn't put together a more stacked roster if you tried. And WOS, the return, certainly had it.
Yeah, I think it was incredible. For me, it was wonderful to see so many people that I just already knew. But maybe from different types of shows, different areas of British and European wrestling who I don't usually see in one room. So, you know, you had people who I see very often, like Bullet, Eddie Ryan, but they were in the same room as people who I don't usually see with them, like Yashar Samuels, despite the fact that they've all wrestled each other a million times. But me personally, in recent years, I haven't necessarily seen, you know, Alex Windsor in the same room as Nathan Angel, because they all run with different crowds. So the fantastic thing I felt was it was a coming together of all walks of wrestling life on the British scene right now. And I thought it was a wonderful showcase of experienced hands who've perhaps been in that studio before, or perhaps people who've been on our TV screens but maybe haven't had that platform for a couple of years, like your Eddie Ryans, and then your sort of up and coming talent like Nathan Angel and, you know, Brandon Lee, and then of course those 3 other fantastic women who I love wrestling and get to spend tons of time with when I'm lucky. And it was that particular locker room was just like it was any other weekend. Really, really just chill, easy, fun, making the most of a wonderful day, a wonderful, long but wonderful day. We had a fantastic crew. You know, the backstage crew at Epic Studios are fantastic. Jonathan Thursby there is such a welcoming, wonderful person. Him and his family were very, very gracious to us. We were very well looked after all day at Epic. And, you know, you were in the capable hands of the directors and producers there. But we had, you know, the familiar face of the wonderful James Mason involved. So, you know, you felt, even if you didn't necessarily have TV experience yet, you felt supported and capable, and you were given the tools to, as much as possible, succeed. What a fantastic team. I was nothing but gratitude and relief as soon as I sort of realized this is good. Yeah, this is good. So no matter where we go with it, and I don't know what this cryptic news is that they've alluded to. I don't know. Wherever we go with this, tick, TV cameras, done. We did it. Of course, my coach is Eddie Ryan for the most part, and he already has TV experience. So he's always like, and if this was for TV, you'd do this here and this here. And, you know, he's brought in coaches such as Scotty Too Hotty, Scott Garland, to then say to us, and if this was an ad break, we'd ask you to do this at this point. And, you know, luckily I've been in a position where these aspects of wrestling have been explored in my education. I don't think anything prepares you for when you do it, but it's nice to at least have something in the back of the head there. So, but yeah, what a fantastic day. And the fans, they really brought it. They really brought it for us, and we really appreciated it.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of what was the general vibe and atmosphere backstage afterwards? Did you know that it was a good show? Did it feel like it was a good show, a success, and that everything went to plan, and optimistic for the future, maybe?
Definite optimism. It was like the walls relaxed, and you know, there was a little bit of a relaxed sit down afterwards where some people had cups of tea and some people had things that were stronger. And some people went home and some people, I don't know, because I left.
You've always got your stragglers, haven't you, backstage? You've always got your stragglers and people that just stay there and chat, and, you know.
It's so welcoming there. You want to stay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Epic's a lovely place.
Do you have any idea, any inkling as far as what the plans are? I'm guessing it was filmed with the purpose of being a trailer, potentially to be aired for a new series on ITV, maybe, potentially, possibly. What do you know?
Those things. I'm not privy to those things.
You don't
and if
have
I
any...
was, I'm sure I would have signed something that says that I'm not allowed to say anyway.
LA Taylor's not giving up. She's not giving it up.
I think the consensus backstage was like make or break.
Yeah.
Everyone put everything they had into it, and should something more come from it, which we believe in the product and we believe in the efforts of everyone involved, it can only be good for British wrestling, for European wrestling.
Yeah.
It could only be a good thing. So I think anyone who is anyone within British wrestling, no matter what area you specialize in, who you run with, or whatever, it can only be good.
Yeah.
It can only be a good thing. And if your heart is in the right place, you'll support it and you'll want it to do well and you'll want it to do what it needs to do for our community.
Yeah, and I'm sure with the crew that are involved, the talent that are involved, you know, the atmosphere out the front with the fans and backstage, and the amount of effort and passion that went into this project, you can only hope that good things come out of it. I'm going to bring up a few pictures that I neglected to bring up earlier, and we mentioned about this being the year that LA Taylor is having the most amount of fun, and you can tell it there.
Look at Sky's face.
There we go. And I'll bring that picture up a bit later. There you are, LA as Han Solo there, ready to kick some ass in a Progress ring, and that's possibly Pro Wrestling Eve. But looking really, really happy, really, really good.
That was a happy day.
Absolutely. And some more pictures, because I want to focus a little bit on the experience. And I brought up this picture earlier. Sky chuckling to herself. But we mentioned that you're one half of the RCW, the Women's Tag Team Champions, and the Resurgence Tag Team Champions alongside Sky as one half of the experience. There you are again. And
yeah, we're doing the Dragon Ball Z.
Awesome vibes going on there, and there she is, sexy,
almost like we're real life friends.
but you know, this has been a pairing between yourself and Sky that's probably been ongoing now for, I'd say, over a year, maybe a year and a half, if not longer. But the two of you just seem to be inseparable, whether it's Progress, whether it's RCW Spain, whether it's Resurgence. And you two have really gone all in now on this tag team unit between the two of you, the experience. What was the kind of the catalyst behind deciding, 2024 is going to be the year of the experience. Let's go for it. You know, let's chuck it, all of our eggs into the basket, and let's go all in on this.
Credit where credit's due, Lana Austin.
Well, yeah,
because you don't bring me and Sky together that often in one room creatively for that length of time if you don't have Lana Austin. And it will disappoint a lot of people. I love the bones of the woman. I adore her. She hits really hard and it sucks. But you know, I think yes, she does get some credit and she gets some plaudits and she gets some recognition, but not nearly enough. Because come on, the majority, 90% of us who are in wrestling now, one of the first women that we saw on a live show was Lana Austin, especially in the Southwest. If you were lucky to see a woman on a show, one of the first women you would have seen was Lana Austin. And that isn't lost on me. And the time and the effort and the fact that she stuck her neck out and said, I think that we should bring this person in after having met me once, is not lost on me. So there's a moment. I'm sorry. She's awesome.
Yeah. It's the truth.
I'll still
It's
have
the
to kick
truth.
her ass one day, but she's awesome. Damn it.
Absolutely. And the two of
Yeah.
you, like I say, have really
Mm,
made waves, as a tag team, as the experience,
yes.
fully
I
fledged
love it.
baby faces now, I believe, as well. And
Big old baby faces.
so
We
how is
love
that
it.
then? Because obviously I had Lana on last year and we had
Mm.
a good laugh, but the Lana Austin experience was a heel faction, and now you and Sky are predominantly baby faces wherever you go. And now back in progress after a little bit of an absence, but now you're back teaming with Sky as the experience, but baby faces. So how's
Yeah.
that shifting kind of dynamics?
That's just perspective. You
True.
know, we were in a situation where we were very much unknown underdogs. How do you grab attention? You kick people in until you get what you want. Turns out that isn't the only method. And hey, how are we to know? We've been righting some wrongs. We're good with Kanji. We've shaken hands. Hey, there we are.
There
Hi,
she is.
Kangela.
She's great.
Moment for Kanji, fieriest, most likable baby face I have ever met. And keep calling her Kangela, so love you, Kangela. Yes, you Kanji.
There we go.
Yeah, would any day where I get to see that beautiful person, I feel happy. And luckily I get to see her at Resurgence and Progress. And I think that she's a wonderful, positive force in wrestling. Oh, there she is. Oh, she's looking tough with us. Look, her and Sky look tough. And well, I suppose we all look tough. We look great. She looks real
Absolutely.
tough. Let go.
Absolutely. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to mess with any of you guys for sure.
Ooh.
But like I say, and you did have your match, didn't you, against Rob Drake and Lana a
Yes.
few shows ago, I believe, to kind of give them their comeuppance, so to speak. But like I say, it's been a good storyline.
What
Kind
an
of all,
iconic couple they are.
yeah, they really are. They really are.
Yeah.
And I mean, Progress have been doing a lot of mixed tag teams with the likes of the cheeky buggers, cheeky little buggers,
Yeah.
Crowley and Alexis, of course, and you got to
We
Rob
love
Drake and
them.
Lana there.
We love you, Alexis Falcon. See you when you're
Absolutely,
better.
absolutely. Be good to see her back in the ring very soon. And then, of course, yourself and Sky. And didn't you two have a match against Sunshine Machine, which
Yes.
was probably the first match of its kind, having two females against two guys. But I'm pretty sure
I
that's the
don't
first
think
match of its
that
kind
had
in a
been.
Progress ring.
If it had been done, it was possibly a pre-pandemic thing.
Maybe.
Don't quote me. If it may be the first one, certainly the first one like that in this ownership era. So yeah, a big moment, big vote of confidence, and a wonderful time. Lots of interruption from Lana and Rob there. This beautiful, horrifically raw emotion at the end that has given. It gave personally for me. I was sort of trained from a young age to act. And so storyline and emotion, and any time where I can push something until people have to chuckle because they're uncomfortable at the raw emotion of it, really feels like I'm getting my teeth into something. And what I greatly enjoyed about that, the end of that particular, although I loved the match, love Sunshine Machine, thank you so much. But what I loved about that post-match moment is it allowed everybody involved to really excel and showcase what they are good at and what they're and it was, the air was humming. It was electric, and I felt a couple of people ringside sort of go, and I thought, good, you're uncomfortable, turn it up. And yes, thank you, Progress.
Absolutely.
That was such a privilege and a wonderful time and opportunity to bring together 2 years of work, 2 years of storytelling between 4 people, with a fantastic creative team behind us. And I think, there's not very many opportunities for that in independent wrestling, and Progress has this wonderful platform across Europe, and with the Defy merging out across the world, to tell stories long term. And that's just such a unique and wonderful thing that they have the ability and capability to do. And being given that chance was fantastic, because you just don't get that chance to explore that over such a nice lengthy amount of time pretty much anywhere else. Not to that degree, or I haven't anyhow. Please, if anyone would like to prove me wrong, get me involved. I want to do it.
Yeah.
But so fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of your singles accomplishments, certainly
Sure.
of recent times. And we brought this picture up earlier on. There you are, as the SovPro Women's Champion, the first ever on their second ever show. And I think I've got it down as it's quite a lengthy reign. Now, you might be able to correct me here, but 605 days. Does that sound about right?
I knew it was past 600 soon. So yeah.
605 days today I worked it out to be. And you faced all competition as a part of the collective, of course. There's a graphic for a match that you were about to have with Harley Hudson, of course. But SovPro, and I had Shotty Horror and Lou on the show earlier on this year, as a matter of fact, just ahead of one of their recent shows. And 2 great guys, a fantastic team up there behind the scenes. They always put on fantastic shows for the crowd, really, really stacked lineups. From around the UK and further afield, including the biggest and the best names from Coronation Street, of course. But you've been their women's champion for over 600 days. And I know you said it's a bit of a way to travel from where you live down in the south, but worth it every time, I'm sure. Worth it every time, I'm sure. Tell us about SovPro.
Yeah, I love SovPro. I love the people I get to work with. I love their outlook in terms of the creative process. I like their planning. They're so long term. I enjoy that. The vote of confidence that they've had in me has been wonderful. I won the championship on my debut. So there's not much more of a vote of confidence than that. Being put into this faction with some fantastic people. You've got Bullet, you've got Leighton Buzzards, you've got one of my favorite wrestlers on this planet, Chris Bronson, the Stallion. I love that man.
Yeah.
And Kelly Six. And I'm going to have missed someone. The Collector, CPF.
Of course. They're recent additions to the collective.
My boys. I love those. There was a period of time in the last 2 years where every time I went abroad for a booking, one of them was there. and we'd just hang out, and it's just, you're like, oh, thank goodness you're here. Brilliant. I'll have a nice time. Which, of course, you'd have a nice time, but it's great to see a familiar face, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, those boys, I love them. They're great.
Absolutely. And it's getting close to 2 years, well over 600 days. But what are your thoughts on kind of potential opponents and challenges for your gold? I mean, you've gone through pretty much all of the women's locker room anyway. Anybody that's posing a threat?
Bring them in. Let's see what happens. I want to get my teeth stuck into some new opponents, some old opponents that I maybe haven't tested in a while. I want to see how far we can push this. Yeah, let's go. I've been a fighting champion there. I'll continue to be so. Let's get it going. I say.
Absolutely. And last but not least, let's talk about this. As the United Wrestling Champion, now you made your return to United a few months ago, and in one night you became the United future-proof champion, and then cashed in on poor Artemis after she beat Simon Quest in a thrilling main event match to become the United champion. And then you came in and with the help of your associates, Max Jaggard, became the United champion. It was an amazing show from top to bottom, and I'm so passionate about what those guys are doing at United Wrestling, mostly from the Tap Social in Oxford, occasionally from the Double Barrel Brewery in Reading. But you are their champion. But I'm a big fan of a lot of what United Wrestling are doing there. They really are kind of putting a different spin on pro wrestling as far as I'm concerned. Tell us a bit about your experience with United, because I don't know if you've seen what I've seen, but I love every bit of what United Wrestling are doing. And of course, you as their champion.
I always have a fantastic time there. Always. I first met those guys maybe a couple of years ago. Mariah May was their champion, and I was wrestling her. That was, is it a venue they don't use now? But they were lovely. They were welcoming, and they were open, first and foremost, to new talent, and listening to that talent and saying, hey, how are you going to excel? What are you good at? What do you think is going to be? But not in a way where they're pushovers, they're just very interested in the collaborative process because they want to have good shows. They want you to be happy. They know that happy wrestlers make good shows. So, it's been greatly positive. They had Max previously, and, if we're being very honest, I spend a lot of time alone in a car hurting, which is fine because I love it and I wouldn't do it if I didn't. But I thought, what can I know that they like to do things differently. And I was like, what can I do here that's different? And I said to them, my friend Max is gonna travel with me. He can come in, right? And they were like, yeah. So, and then of course we caused hell. So lovely Cornish boy, Max, absolutely jacked, in the best shape of his life, and continues to get better. It makes you sick. First ever moonsault I saw him do, he did it to Nina Samuels, except she moved out the way. We had a bit of a time there. No one I would rather have by my side, and I'd be by his, but no one I'd rather be with there. He's a fantastic person, one of the hardest working people I have met ever in a training situation. The boy is possessed. The boy is focused. He's in a completely different zone. He's not playing at this. He's doing it. And I urge anyone to keep an eye on Max Jaggard.
And he's got himself into the shape of his life as well.
What a guy. Constantly doing this pose. Someone said, is that a rib? And I was like, how can it be a rib? He's jacked.
Yeah. Just sticking with Max because
wonderful Cornish boy.
Absolutely. But he's coming as your manager. He's coming as your mouthpiece as well, because I know that you can cut a mean promo, whether it be in the ring or backstage. But in United Wrestling, you've not said a word yet. It's all been left to the dulcet tones of Max Jaggard as your mouthpiece. Exactly. You've just been cool, calm, collective in the background and kicking ass, and he's been there every word of the way, so to speak.
It's by design, Jonas. It's by design. Yeah. I think this is something that's actually, since we've last spoken, a lot of my work, I've been a silent partner, and someone had the cheek to go to Sky the other day. Are you going to help her talk then? And she was like, have you heard her talk? She don't need my help. And I was like, you'll know when I talk. You'll know. So, I'm very comfortable with that side of things. But when you have Max, save it. Look at him. He's glorious. I'm just chilling. I'm having the best time of my life. Fantastic eye makeup. Not often I look that wonderful in your screen grabs, John, as you always get one of me like, don't you dare
Oh,
post
no.
that as the screen grab for this, because I'll reach down the internet and have you. But that's one of my, you can keep using that one. I like that one.
I will.
But yeah, no, Max, wonderful, wonderful person. We are great friends from the same part of the world ish. And you know, we can chat to each other and we'll know what each other's saying, because there are some dialect things that our friends don't understand, and there are some things that we just get culturally that others don't. And we both love the massage chairs at service stations, so you know, it's a friendship.
There we go. And he told me last time I saw him that he's living the gimmick as well, because he's recently bought himself a Jaguar.
Oh, that car. Yes, the seat's cool as well as warm. So you'll see me sat in the back being driven to United. Oh, I'm living the dream. He's great.
Lovely. Let's talk about a couple of other promotions.
Sure.
And I want to talk about Pro Wrestling Eve, because I believe that 2024 was the year when you made your Pro Wrestling Eve debut.
In February.
And what a debut it was against none other than Nina Samuels. Now, what a company, what a legacy that company has had on British wrestling over the last 10, 12 100%. Years. And I'd say it must have been, was it always a goal of yours to one day work for Pro Wrestling Eve? And when that phone call or email came along from Dan, what was that moment like for you?
Of course it was a goal. Of course, I've always watched those people on that show. How could you not be aware of that product as a woman in wrestling in Europe? So yes, I had gently put onto the back burner any idea that I might work there. I didn't want to pressure myself. I knew that it's mainly London based and that comes with its challenges in terms of travel expenses. And therefore I knew I would always be a big risk initially, because I'm an unknown and it's already, you know, if we're talking about the business of the thing, that's my perception. I'm sure Dan would have his own perception of it and be like, nah, I know what I was doing, because he does. So I had gently gone, if it happens, that would be fantastic. Like I do with everything, to be honest. Maybe sometimes I don't dare to dream. But then he was having a show where he said, hey, I want to see people I haven't seen before. And I'd noticed that there were a few persistent fans who kept tagging me in his stuff for about a year. And I thought, he's fed up with them and he's fed up with me, I expect. But whatever it was, he said, yep, I'd like to book you, please. And I was like, yeah, I'm available that day. And it was in February. I can't remember the date of it. But it was
maybe it was this show here, was it? There we go.
It was that February the 1st, a Thursday. That was it. I knew it was an interesting day because I did a bit of work on the way. And in the main event for the title against Nina Samuels, who I'd never wrestled before, at the Big Penny.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, great occasion, great experience. And I know you've been featured on their cards quite a few times since then. So you're obviously a success. Regardless of the X's, but there we go. Really good.
No, he's been fantastic to me, Dan. Free with his time, and you know, has his thoughts and opinions and gives them freely, but without judgment. So he's an interesting person to have a chat with, and I do like to have a chat with him very often. Very good if you need a film recommendation, because he consumes new film like no other person. So, yes, a bit of love for Dan there.
Top man. And graphics I'm going to bring up with you on the cover there.
That was
Woman, yeah. And we got this one here. I think you had the chance to wrestle Alex Windsor. And that was also your opponent in the final of the WOS, the return championship.
That didn't happen because we got interrupted.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that then.
We got interrupted. She got attacked. I didn't even make it out. She got attacked. Didn't happen.
Oh, well, so you're going to have to play that one back in.
I'm yet to wrestle Alex Windsor and Eve.
Absolutely. But I want to talk briefly about... I want to talk briefly about Southwest Wrestling because that was a big focus for our conversation when we spoke over 2 years ago. And you've
Yeah.
just become the Southwest Wrestling Warriors champion, the first ever.
Yes.
And this past June, and as I mentioned just a few days before, you flew out to Japan for your just over 2-week tour of Japan. You had this match here, WrestleVersary 4
Yes.
from the Cheltenham Town Hall, the biggest and best show in Southwest Wrestling history, and a
Yes.
big triple threat match for the Southwest Wrestling Warriors Championship.
Yes.
Reigning champion Charlie Morgan, who beat you for the championship against yourself and Aluna in that triple threat. But the
Yes.
reason why I want to bring up that match, not only was it a tremendous day, a packed venue, the Cheltenham Town Hall, a loaded card, or one of the best wrestling shows I've seen all year. And the guys really delivered. Every match was a banger. But that match in particular really stood out for me for a couple of reasons. A, it was your opportunity to get back the Warriors Championship, which was so rudely taken from you a while earlier from Charlie Morgan. But it was Aluna's crowning moment in her hometown, in probably the biggest match in her career so far. And what a wonderful match it was. And of course, it was one of Charlie Morgan's last ever matches. And you had the pleasure of sharing the ring with her and Aluna in that momentous occasion. So a lot going on, and kind of a lot of fondness for that match for the various reasons I've just explained.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. Jessa was ringside and sometimes not ringside and more involved. And it was this wonderful moment to share a match and a moment in time with two people who've, especially this year, have been very wonderful to me. As well as, Aluna, who has been very present from early on in both of our careers. So, from a back hall in Tiverton, I think we first had a match, all the way to there. It's been an utter pleasure so far. It's very rare that you get to meet someone who you get on so well with. So it's, coming into a locker room that she's in, it just feels like you're coming home or popping round each other's house for a cup of tea. So yeah, for all of those reasons, it was lovely to be a part of. From a more competitive standpoint, when will you see me again? Oh, I don't know. But it was wrongly taken. Whether it was rightly won, it was wrongly taken. So I don't feel I'm done there. As much as I adore the current champ.
Yeah, that's it. And you still kind of have that chip on your shoulder regarding the Warriors Championship and wanting to regain it, reclaim it.
I had
but
it for such a long time.
I'm sure that match has got to happen. That match has got to happen. Some big shows happening before the end of 2024 for Southwest Wrestling. So you never know. You never. I'm going to bring up the because we all adore Aluna, and she will be my next guest on this. Looks fantastic.
Honestly, I only wish her good things, always.
Absolutely. And for her to win the championship in her hometown, in the Cheltenham Town Hall, no less. What a fantastic moment. But let's go to some questions now, because that's how we're going to round out this episode of Wrestling with Jonathan. We've had a whole load. Let's have a look.
Going to ask me.
Megan, again, saying awesome woman. I'm guessing you're on about LA and Aluna. I know that Megan's a big fan of you both. Let's have a quick look. James again, SovPro is one of his favorite promotions. Of course it is. Megan again, let's have a look. LA, what would you say to someone like her, like Megan, trying to get her foot in the door? Now, as I mentioned, Megan is training, one of the trainees with Joel Redmond and the fantastic team there at ASW South. I mean, she's in very, very capable hands. But any advice
100%.
from the Demolition Woman?
Well, you've got the first thing right. You're training with one of the best. So there we are. Focus on that. Ask that person's advice. Look at the people around you who do things that you like or that you think you could excel in terms of style, in terms of talking, in terms of maybe character, and approach them and ask them. There are some things that I approach certain people for. So, for instance, when I wanted some work on my intensity, I went to a training session led by Wild Boar because intensity is what he had. I attended a seminar with Thomas Latimer because he has intensity. If I have questions about character or promos, I might send Crowley a message. Promos, I'll send Chris Brooker a message, or a Gene Money. If I have a question about the business of wrestling, I'll send Yestin Rees a message because he gets the business of it. And, you know, just see the people for their strengths and ask them about those strengths. You know, if you're talking technical wrestling, British wrestling, you already have Joel. And I'm sure you already ask him loads of questions. So keep doing that. Just pester him all the time. That's all I ever did, and all I still do constantly. Before I was coached by Eddie Ryan, I would send him messages all the time, pestering. I'd send Nick Riley messages asking questions. I sent Nick Riley a message the other day being like, how do you think I should approach this? And, you know, Sky was one of the first female wrestlers who I saw wrestle. And so I would bug her about things. Just keep asking questions, keep working hard. Take the suggestions on board that you think are going to apply to you and work at it. Just, you know, write out a list of goals at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, see if you manage to hit any of them. Now, I have all of my list of goals from each year. Keep it, and I look back and I keep track, and it focuses you.
It really does. Excellent. And one more from Megan. What's been your favourite match so far? So I'm assuming that she's referring to matches that you've been involved in. Do you have a favourite match, or maybe a top one or two? or do they all become a blur after a while?
Can I actually? I'll tell you what.
Go on.
I have many, many favourite matches, but one just popped into my head because you won't be able to see it anywhere. So I'll tell you about it. There was an unprecedented match at Butlins in Bognor Regis very recently. It was an all-female tag match. I tagged with Nightshade against Angel Hayes and Harley Hudson. Almost legal named you then, pal. And it was a chance to road test how this might go down with the good people of Butlins and the fans and the families there. And hey, girls, you've worked really hard all summer. Get your teeth sunk into this. And it was so much fun. And we went for it. Every person in that match wanted it. And you're working with some of the most talented women in, you know, the UK and Ireland, in a ring on a weeknight in front of some people who don't really care about wrestling, and you're making them care about it. And that's the tough job. And one of the best parts of this year is getting to work for Kick Out Wrestling and getting to work in Butlins. Butlins, the crowning camp show of the UK, where I have learned so much, and so much of the fun and the smile and the confidence that you see on my face from these other potentially seen as larger promotions actually has come from working with some British wrestling legends at Butlins for Kick Out Wrestling, and their confidence and their belief that I can do that job there consistently has meant so much this year. And I adore working there, and I've learned so much. So that match being the sort of culmination of a summer of tough work where I had to bow out because of a bit of illness at one point, it felt like such a wonderful moment where 4 women who really get what that job actually is, what the actual job of wrestling is, came together and showed each other how much they care about each other and that job. and it just felt fun, and I loved it, and I loved those people and everyone backstage there.
Yeah. When I had Joel on the show a couple of years back, he said that if you can make a family of non-wrestling fans at Butlins cheer and get up on their feet and become invested, then you've done your job.
Exactly. That's
what wrestling is all
your
about.
extra ticket comes from.
That's what wrestling is all about. That's what pro wrestling is all about. A couple of final quick fire questions. Richie, friend of the show, do you think the women should have a super strong Style 16 tournament 1 year in progress? Now, I'm not sure. Was there one year when Tony Storm won it? But nevertheless,
I wasn't in it, so I want one.
Rich is balloting for it to be brought back.
Yes, put me in it.
Absolutely. Got to be done. Lee, if you're watching, which I know he does very regularly, get it done, mate. Get it done.
Lovely chat.
You got your winner right here. And Darren, how did you come up with the name, the nickname, the Demolition Woman? That should be Demolition Woman. That's my mistype.
My mum is a massive Def Leppard fan. I grew up listening to Def Leppard, and in the song "Pour Some Sugar on Me," there is a line that says, "Demolition Woman, can I be your man?" And I thought, yes, that's the position I want to be in. I want men, women, in between, anyone to be like, I want to be with you. I want them to look up at me. I want them to weep. I wanted that feeling of dominance and power. And I thought, yeah, that's who I want to be. Can I be your man? I don't know. Can you? No. And that was it. I was like, yes, that's so sleazy. And I'd heard it my entire life. And I thought, no, that's it. Being surrounded by strong, intimidating women in my family on all sides my entire life, I was like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good answer, Darren. I hope that answered your question. But and I think it's a kick-ass nickname as well, to be honest with you. A kick-ass nickname. Right, as we start to run, I just want to give you mentioned it before, but Lions Den Pro Training down in Plymouth, a bit of a shout out, because I believe you do some guest trainer spots, or you're very much part of the training team there. But hell of a setup.
I don't know.
You don't?
I help.
You help.
No, I help the kids sometimes.
Right. Okay.
No,
well,
he's
that's
the boss. He's Eddie Ryan and Country Big Josh Knott are the best coaches on the planet. But I help out where I can. But I am very much under the learning tree, friends.
Of course. And let's talk a little bit about some merch then, because and I'm going to bring up a different banner that's going to be scrolling along the bottom of the screen with all of your socials, which will also include your Big Cartel. And of course, if you go across to LA Taylor's Big Cartel, you'll see all this lovely swag there, including probably the coolest T-shirt on the British UK scene, British independent scene, and there it is there in all of its glory.
There's a story behind that. Do you want to hear it?
Please do. Tell us about the T-shirt.
So when my entire life collapsed and I decided that the massive hole in my life would be replaced with pro wrestling, a photography student came down and said, I'd like to do a project on different people in Cornwall and how they live here. And that's me on the step of my caravan in a field where I lived, with a cup of tea and my silk kimono on.
Nice.
Because that was just me. Like, that was how I lived for so long. And that I thought, first T-shirt, first bit of proper wearable merch, what shall I do? I was like, well, we'll start at the beginning. And that's the beginning. That's spiritually who I am.
It's the coolest T-shirt. It's the coolest T-shirt. I'm gonna have to
I'll sort you out.
Drop onto your Big Cartel. And also you'll have to tell us where we can get this bit of swag as well. The experience T-shirt, the kind of the combined T-shirt for yourself and Sky as the experience. I'm guessing that is available. Artwork by the wonderful Elliot Marriott.
Yes.
Elliot 93. But tell us a bit about that, because that's another cool design.
Yeah, so it's very much about how we complement each other. I have the water in my sort of logo and everything because of the sort of my heritage from being right next to the surf, and Sky is fiery as they come. And it's very much about the duality and the, you know, the synchronicity of our team, and it looks like some wonderful album artwork. And I said, wow, that looks cool.
Yeah.
We should put that on a t-shirt.
It's the sort of thing you'd see on a Pink Floyd album or something.
Exactly.
But very
exactly.
cool.
And so Sky's in charge of that. Look to Sky's socials. She's got all the links. Please, thank you, Sky. You responsible, wonderful person.
I got that image from Sky's Instagram, so just go to Sky's Instagram, and I'm sure there's a link.
I'll get on it, I promise.
Absolutely. But I do have your social scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Mostly your Instagram, your X, your merch, and your Patreon as well. So where can we find out more about you and support you and reach out and say hi?
Yeah, on all of those platforms. If you want to sort of actually have like a chat, Patreon is the place. We have a wonderful community there where we're just chatting, and we have question and answer every week, or like film question and answers. You get exclusive discounts on merchandise, and you get to see how it actually is behind the scenes. But yes, any of the socials, just keep an eye out on there. You know, any upcoming shows and things, you'll always see there. But yeah, come say hey.
It's been a busy couple of years, hasn't it? And I think we've covered it fairly well in the last hour and 20 minutes. I
believe we squished that in.
Oh, I'm good at my job. But don't forget, Aluna is going to be my next guest. Be the second time. I'm only having returning guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only having returning guests, certainly for the foreseeable future, to catch up with some of my favorite people and closest friends in the business. But Aluna will be rejoining me in 2 weeks' time, Wednesday, the 16th of October, 8 p.m. And Aluna she was pretty damn good when I spoke to her 2 years ago. She's really gone from strength to strength as one of the best female performers in the UK. So please don't forget to check that one out. But LA, I just want to thank you for being an awesome guest once again on your second appearance of Wrestling with Johners. If you've got any parting words for the live audience at home, from LA Taylor, what would they be if you've got any parting words to your fans, your friends, your supporters and followers at home?
2 years has gone by in the blink of an eye, but it also feels like 100. Time has behaved so strangely in 2 years, and so many people have come and gone, and some people have been stalwart supporters and some people have been gently in the background, and all of it is greatly appreciated. I think back then I didn't know how far this was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to stick it out, and I definitely have had lots of crazy moments of joy and sadness and everything in between. The only thing that I need to tell you is that I'm just having the best time. I love pro wrestling. I love wrestling. And if I've ever made you doubt that, don't let me make you doubt that now. I am having the best time, and I don't feel like stopping anytime soon. I see myself having an involvement in this beautiful world for as long as I possibly can. And I'm so grateful for anyone who has enabled that and continues to support me and enable that. It's what a ride. Hey, let's see what we can do. Let's put another 2 years on the clock. Let's go.
Absolutely. But LA Taylor, the Demolition Woman, you've been an awesome guest, a returning guest on episode 366. I'm sure I'll see you at one show or another before the end of the year. But for the meantime,
tons I expect.
Take care and thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for everything you do, John, as I really appreciate it.
There we go.
Take care.